Hey, what's going on? The last few years in real estate, you didn't have to worry about price reductions. Now, price reductions are becoming more and more common. I'm going to talk about how to handle price reductions as a real estate agent. You guys ready? Let's go.
And I ain't going nowhere so you can get to know me.
If you guys have just started in real estate, maybe 1, 2, even 3 years in real estate and have sold property, you may have never even had to do a price reduction because anything you listed probably sold, and not only did it sell, it sold for over asking. Well, in today's market, price reductions are becoming more and more common, and some agents just don't know how to deal with them. I look at this as opportunity. So not even for just price reductions, because I'm going to explain on how to handle price reductions, but there's just going to be a lot of agents that just don't know how to handle them. They don't have the skill set to handle price reductions, and that's when experienced agents come in, or I'm not even going to say experienced agents because I built my business off expired listings, and I was a brand new agent, but I was trained and equipped with the right language, with knowing what to say and how to say it, that I could come in on an expired listing, get that listing, and actually list it for a price less than what they just came off the market for. So I built my I built my business off of getting listings just like that, which gets me so excited about price reductions coming back around, because they just were MIA for the longest time. There were no price reductions, but with price reductions, you're going to start to see more expired listings. You're going to start to see more agents that just can't do price reductions, and as a result, those listings are going to expire. So before you let your listing expire, hopefully you've exhausted all efforts, and that's what we're going to talk about today. First things first, how to tell if a price reduction is even needed. Well, there's a few things that pop up to mind that you really can tell plain as day if a price reductions are needed. Light traffic. If the property has light traffic, that is a clear sign that a price reduction is probably needed. If you have traffic but no offers, a price reduction is probably needed. If you have lowball offers, then a price reduction is probably needed. If you have negative feedback, then a price reduction is probably needed. Then comes the question, when do you actually do a price reduction? You know, there's still things flying off the shelf, and if you have a listing that's on the market and it's on the market for 14 days, 20 days, I would consider that being long on the market, because most properties are still going on the market and they're having accepted offers within that first 7 to 10 days on the market. So if you're on for longer than that, you have become this stale listing. People are starting to look at that listing like, what's wrong? You've been on the market for 20, 30 days. Why has nobody put an offer in on this property? Here's what you need to realize as a listing agent, and what you need to let your sellers realize as your clients. Your best chance to get the highest offer is at the beginning of the process. Your first offer is usually your best offer, or your first batch of offers. So you need to do everything you can to list the property at the price that can actually generate the most interest. As a listing agent and as a seller, days on market are your enemy. Days on the market, that's the worst thing that can happen to you as a listing agent. The more those accumulate as a listing agent and as a seller, usually mean the less offers that you're going to get. And not only that, the lower offer, you're going to get lower offers on that. If someone sees a property that's been on the market for 25, 30, 40 days, do you think you're going to get an offer at listing price? The answer is no. No one who would put an offer at listing price or over if it's been on the market for however long. People know that that's sitting. No one else is wanting to buy it. That's when you're going to have even lower ball offers. So you want to make sure that you protect your days on the market. I usually say the second round of open houses is a good indication on this is where we need to make a decision on adjusting this price to catch itself up back to the market. Let's just give the benefit of the doubt to this situation. Hypothetically, that the buyer that you're looking for happens to be on vacation, and you know there's no other buyers that want to buy this property, but the buyer that you were looking for happens to be on vacation the week that you do the open house. And they get back, they should come back. That second week, if you do a second round of open houses, they should be there, right? So, and that's just counting on that one buyer. Again, that's the benefit of the doubt. You should have more than one buyer interested, but let's just say that one buyer's away that first week you're on the market. Then that second week you're on the market, they should be able to see that property and everyone else who's interested in that property. So after the second round of open houses, you could have 6 open houses. You could do a commuter open house on Thursday, then Saturday and Sunday. Then the following weekend, do the same thing. That's 6 open houses. Are you telling me that you can't gather any interest with 6 open houses? Of course you could. The problem is there's just no one interested. So more than 14 days on the market is typically not good. That's a good time where you can sit down with your client and give them the options on why a price reduction is, not only should they do it, it's actually necessary. I hear this all the time with sellers. Oh, we can come down in price, but we can't go up. So why don't we list it here, and then if we need to, we can come down, because once we list here, we can't go up. Of course you can go up. That's why you listed at a competitive price, to generate multiple interest. I have clear-cut examples of properties that I listed that have sold for 40, 50, 100 grand over asking. So yes, it is possible, and if they're listening to you and able to not just be told, but actually shown how that works in a competitive market, they're gonna be more likely to listen to you and follow your suggestions. Which brings me to price reductions they start at the listing presentation. When you have a listing presentation, you need to set the bar there. You need to let them know, first off, hopefully you're listing it at a price that is appropriate, and always, you can never list a property for, you can never underprice a property, because if you underprice a property, naturally, what happens? If a property is worth $500,000 and you list it for $400 because you just were $100,000 off, what's gonna happen? You're gonna have a line of people wrapped around the block, and naturally it's gonna bid itself up to where it's supposed to be. The market dictates the price, right? But even beyond that, the buyers dictate what that sales price should be. So you can say what the property's worth, the seller can say what the property's worth, but it's only worth what the buyer's willing to pay for it. And the buyers are naturally going to be putting in the offers of what they're willing to pay for it. So you can never underprice a property. Set proper expectations from the beginning. Let them know that not all property sells for over asking, because that's another thing. If you're listing a property and you're saying, yeah, every property I sell sells for over 100 asking and this and that, next thing you know, you get no offers. Then what? Then the finger is pointed right back at you. It's why did you tell me that, right? You're telling me their expectations were too high. So is it possible? Is it more likely that they get more interest and more offers? Of course it is, but just be careful with your language and how you say that and express it to the seller. You want to say it in a way that is inspiring, and of course it's likely and more likely for that to happen if they list it at a price that makes sense versus a price that doesn't make sense, but there's still no guarantees. I like asking the seller, would you want me to provide you feedback? Do you feel comfortable with me providing you feedback? It sounds like all sellers would say yes, but that could be a sensitive question, right? You're telling them potentially negative feedback about their house. Are they okay taking that? Because some people aren't. What do you mean they didn't like the color of the bedroom? What do you mean they didn't like what do you mean? Listen, I'm gonna give you honest feedback. What that's gonna do, it's gonna help us in future marketing your property and potentially maybe making some few alterations. I always let my sellers know that I'm gonna communicate with you on a weekly basis and let you know the results of my activities. So these are all the things that I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna let you know the results of them. That way you'll know exactly how many showings we've had, how many showing requests we actually received. Sometimes you receive a showing request and it never actually happens. They cancel the showing. And if you don't have a bunch of traffic and you're like, oh, we got a showing lined up for Friday, we haven't had one in weeks, and then next thing you know, they cancel. That can tell a lot about where that property is on the market. Was that person really excited about seeing that property, or were they just wanting to see it because it was on the market? So all these things can kind of tell a story. Agent feedback, buyer feedback. So getting buyer feedback, but also getting agent feedback. This is why I don't really believe in for sale by owners. They're in there selling their house and showing it themselves. No one's gonna give honest feedback to the seller when they're walking through their house. They're gonna be like, oh yeah, this is nice. You're the owner? Yeah, this is nice, thank you. As soon as they walk out that door, they're gonna be like, oh, this place is a dump, let's get out of here. Peeling off the driveway. But if it's a third party, if it's someone that's detached from the ownership of that property, you're more likely to get honest feedback. That honest feedback could be critical on what to do moving forward in selling that property. So understand this, price reductions start at the listing presentation, and that's where you can kind of set the guidelines, expectations of what to expect. That way you're not just going to them 2 weeks later and asking for a price reduction, but along that time frame, you've given them feedback, you've given them a buyer, agent feedback, you've given them things, the amount of people that you reached out to, the amount of people that reached out to you about the property. Because even if it's no one, like, look, I haven't had any showing requests this week. That tells a story. Or I've had 2 showing requests. That tells a story. Or I've had 20 showing requests. That tells a story. So giving them all this information, that way when the 2 weeks comes up, it's not a surprise on doing a price reduction because they've been informed along the way and they know the exact results of what's happening with them on the market. Remember this, logic makes people think and emotion makes people act. So it's important to always know your client's motivation when selling a property. This is something that you're constantly going to have to hit, especially with price reductions. When things get tough in a real estate transaction, which they always do. I don't remember many transactions where it was a clear path to the closing. Usually there's something that detours it a little bit. You have to get back on track as an agent and you have to be skilled enough to do that. When it comes down to the seller, even the buyer side, but the seller, if you're working from the listing side of things, what's their motivation? Why are they selling this property in the first place? You don't just need to know it. You need to be in tuned with it. You need to know, they need to know that you know what their motivation is. They need to know that you care about their motivation. What's their motivation? They're looking at downsize because they want to, their kids have moved off. Well, that's serious, right? Because what's going to happen if they stay at that property? Well, we could stay here. It doesn't matter. We don't have to sell. That's bullshit. Everyone says, oh, we don't have to sell. Yes, you do have to sell, because how many more winters do you want to take on? How much more shoveling do you want to do? How many more snowblower tune-ups do you want to do? How many more times do you want to close down the pool that you guys barely use? How many more times do you want to inconvenience your life where you could be spending that time doing something that you actually like and enjoy doing? These are the things that you have to sit on with your clients. Have those conversations. They can be uncomfortable, but this is the reason why they want to move. Who's going to close down the pool for you guys? Are you guys finding use in this stuff? You guys are getting older. Do you really want to continue to do the stairs? You guys have a lot of stairs you're going up and down. This is something that, of course you don't have to do anything. They have to be reminded of that stuff. Even if they're telling you no to your face, sometimes letting them sit on it for a while. Hey, look, I know, we're talking about all this stuff now. Why don't you and your wife talk about things for a little bit and I'll catch up with you guys later. I'll give you guys a call later tonight. That way you let them have those discussions privately, because I can guarantee there's gonna be one person, at least in that relationship, that's gonna be like, I'm not doing these, I'm not shoveling anymore, I don't wanna do this anymore. And they're gonna have that, they're gonna be strongly opinionated, at least one of them, on why they don't wanna stay in that property. So let them have those conversations privately and reconnect with them later. Also, let's just say someone wants to get into a certain school district for their kids are getting bigger. Do they really want to stay in that school district that they're in now, or do they want to get into that awesome school district that they've always dreamed of being in, right? As a seller, you want to make that move, don't you? You have a newborn baby on the way, or you have a growing family. Don't you want a bigger backyard? I know you can stay in this property, but let's do the right thing here. Let's put this property at a price that makes sense, generate more interest, and get you and your family to that backyard that you've always dreamed of. This is the type of motivation that you need to constantly hit and make sure that you are revisiting it, especially when it comes down to them having any pushback on giving a price reduction. Just to recap what we talked about, you have to actually put in some work for a price reduction. They have to know what you're doing. Have your plan of action detailed so they know what you're doing and you're not just coming to them and asking for a price reduction. If you haven't spoken to them since you put the property on the market and the first conversation you have is a price reduction, it's not gonna work. Or it's an uphill battle at least. So with that being said, make sure that you're in constant communication with your clients, especially during that first couple of weeks, because you have to prepare yourself for a possible price reduction. And if one's needed, if you've been in communication with them, it's gonna be a lot easier to have that conversation when it comes down to a price reduction. So hopefully this helped. If you guys have any questions, throw them in the comment section below. I'll be happy to answer them. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I appreciate you guys watching this, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
And I ain't going nowhere, so you can get to know me.